Greetings, I'm Bill Mullet, and this is the fourth video post by the ADC Planning Committee. This finds us in a continued state of confinement or stay at home. It may have been exciting to have that imposed upon us at the beginning, but that excitement sure wore off quickly. It has given way to more serious issues, and I want to talk about the whole idea of dealing with confinement. From creation, God said in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him." So God created us as individuals, but made us interdependent. We need help from time to time. We need relationships. We need to be able to talk to people. We even need to be able to touch them. In my reading and searching, I read an article by Dr. Joseph Griffith, professor at King's College in New York, and he referred to a sermon by C.S. Lewis, which I then found and read. The sermon was entitled "Learning in Wartime." He preached it at St. Mary Virgin Church in Oxford, England on October 22nd, 1939. This sermon was preached after Germany had invaded Poland and the British, it seemed like war was inevitable. Then I read a column by David Brooks. In his column, he talked about the emotional stress that people are in. He had invited people to write him in response to a column he had written the prior week. And to his amazement, he received over 5,000 replies, mostly from people in emotional pain. He states a significant portion of our friends and neighbors are living in agony because on the rise is loneliness, domestic violence, drug abuse, child abuse, suicides, divorce, depression. Hopefully, we are far removed from these. But we dare not find ourselves in that stream of woe as he defines it. However, there are enemies that invade even our confined space. We must deal with them. If we don't deal with them, we'll not be able to help those that we should be ministering to. Let's take a brief look at the three enemies that want to overpower us and how we can defeat them. First is the enemy of anxiety. Sometimes it feels like we're living on the edge of a cliff, and at any moment it could give way and we could fall. There's no handrail, no guardrail, and we're looking down a deep chasm. It seems there is so little, if anything, that we feel that we can trust. Our government, our media, our financial system, even the medical field seems to come up short. No handrail. No one that we can really trust. But there is one. I want to point us to him. The one that is ever truthful, ever faithful. We can trust him. Peter states in 1 Peter 5, 6 and 7, "Humble yourself therefore under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your care," anxiety actually, he says, "on him because he cares for you." There's two things in this verse, or these verses. First is to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. How can we humble ourselves under his hand? We can come to him and say, "God, this is bigger than what I can handle." Acknowledging that can be the first step in humbling ourselves before God. Secondly, we tell him that we are going to place our anxieties on him because he cares. He cares. He knows what we are facing. He knows what makes you anxious. He knows your concern. He knows your worries. He knows your problems. Replace those anxieties with trust. Tell him again and again and again, I trust you. The second enemy is the enemy of frustration. Frustration is the most acute when things are out of our control. We feel helpless because we can't do anything about it. Maybe it's about the unknown, something in the future. It's that thing perhaps where there doesn't seem to be a solution. We like to fix it, but there's no way for us to fix it. And so we become frustrated. Perhaps we had plans and suddenly they evaporate. What will become of our family, our children, our grandchildren? What if I become sick? What if I lose my job? What if I can't support my family? Will the economy recover? What will life look like after all this is over? What will the church be like when this is over? Can we again come together as one? Or have we become too individualistic? It feels frustrating because we don't know. However, I was blessed with the words of C.S. Lewis in his sermon that didn't dismiss worries as baseless. Rather, he urged his students to live in the moment and leave the future to God. His advice: worrying about the future will not solve a thing. You may as well leave the future to God. Further, he writes, God will certainly retain it whether we leave it to him or not. I want all of us to know this, that he's got this. Instead of being paralyzed with anxiety and frustration, replace that frustration with action. Let the future to God. Seize the moment. Now, the present, now is all that we have. Strengthen and prepare yourself for the future and for his kingdom. So replace frustration with action and peace. John 14:27 says, Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. And that brings us to the third enemy. The third enemy is fear. Oh, we've talked a lot about fear already. We've heard a lot about fear. Fear of what? Maybe it's the fear of losing our family or someone in our family. Maybe it's the fear of losing our income. Maybe it's the fear of losing our freedom. One of the greatest things that troubles me is freedom. I love freedom. I want to be free. I want to be able to go out and do what I like to do. And then there's the fear of loss of life, death. So I ask each of you, what do you fear? What if the virus comes to me or our loved ones? Let me assure you of one thing. COVID-19 does not increase the probability of death. Who of us will not die? COVID-19 makes death and dying more real to us. It forces us to recognize our own mortality. To many, that's cause for fear. The psalmist says it this way. Psalm 90:12. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. There's also two things in this verse. First, numbering our days does not mean counting them. It means making them count. About being useful, about being profitable. Secondly, in the second portion, he says, apply your heart to wisdom. Dr. Joseph Griffith wrote, many of the students at Oxford University in 1939 were called to war, but we are called to stay at home. Think about it. So I encourage you to use this time not to fear, but use this time to replace fear by pursuing wisdom, as the psalmist says in 90:12. Apply your heart to wisdom. So how do we do that? As pastors, teachers, leaders, parents, we need wisdom. How do we pursue wisdom? Pursue God. Pursue truth. Prepare yourself to serve. The Apostle Paul told Timothy, till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine, is how the King James states it. Read, study, research, learn, grow. There are lots of resources available in our confined spaces. Use them. All we have is this moment, this time. C.S. Lewis said, and I quote, the present is the only time in which any duty can be done or any grace received. Seize the moment and hope for tomorrow. So in conclusion, I say, we can squander this time and allow the enemies of anxiety, frustration, and fear to invade our confined spaces. You can turn your anxiety into trust. You can turn your frustration into peace. And you can replace your fear by seeking wisdom. One last thing. So, if you wake up and feel a nudge, as I do most mornings between 3 and 5, to get up and pray and seek His face, then I invite you to get up. Let's join together in spirit. Seek Him by prayer and His Word, and there find rest. There, I often fall asleep again, surrounded by His love, feeling secure. Be safe and be blessed.